Harry Potter and the Failings of Age, Neutrality, Hospitality, and the Librarian's Role. Since the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in 1998, the series has sparked debates in libraries. Conservatives initially challenged it on religious grounds, while recent political controversies surrounding the author caused many liberals to call for boycotts of her works. This illustrates the conflict librarians face. They must provide diverse materials to all patrons while ensuring a safe environment. To navigate this challenge, the American Library Association, ALA, and the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, provide guidelines that strike a balance between these responsibilities. Rather than promoting censorship or invoking a Swiss-style neutrality, these guidelines echo the ancient concept of the caravanserai. The Harry Potter series also explores the tensions between safety and access to information, as seen in Albus Dumbledore's choices and subsequent speech on the failings of age in the Order of the Phoenix. Harry Potter's popularity has been matched only by its controversies. By the release of The Goblet of Fire in 2000, the first 3 books topped the New York Times bestseller list, leading to the creation of a separate children's bestseller list. Harry Potter's dominance on that list prompted the Times to establish another list separating children's series from standalone books in 2004. The series ranked 48th on the ALA's top 100 most frequently challenged books for the 1990s, with only 1 standalone book and 2 series published in the 90s placing higher. It later topped the corresponding list for the 2000s, and the series was largely uncontroversial for most of the 2010s. While most series would fall out of cultural relevance upon ending, as David Martin reminded us last year, even non-fans recognize and continue to use Potterisms. However, with continued relevance comes new controversies. In March 2018, what Lori Kim has termed the turfpocalypse began when J.K. Rowling liked a transphobic tweet, sparking backlash. Rowling later referred to the incident as an accident. By June 2020, she publicly expressed anti-trans views, criticizing the phrase people who menstruate, and publishing a manifesto that drew on second-wave feminism's focus on women's spaces. Since then, Rowling has continued to promote her views, endorsing UK Supreme Court rulings on anti-trans definitions and establishing the J.K. Rowling's Women's Fund to support anti-trans legal actions. Her stance has garnered support from conservatives and religious groups, while alienating many of her liberal former supporters. Cancellation is a direct democratic process where people advocate for a boycott of an action, business, or individual, requiring collective agreement for effectiveness. It is not merely deciding to stop participating, but advocating for others to do the same. Unlike banning, which involves a formal process and legal enforcement, cancellation operates without established procedure. It relies on social pressure to deter participation through shaming and ostracism. Thus, banning is censorship de jure, while cancellation is de facto censorship. Furthermore, banned books can be defended legally by authors, readers, and librarians. Cancellation, on the other hand, offers no such recourse. Therefore, while both banning and cancellation seek to restrict access or participation, cancel culture poses a greater risk due to its informal, socially driven nature. The widespread use of canceling, or cancel culture, is a natural result of puritanical moral structures, capitalism, and social media, and ironically, it shares an origin with J.K. Rowling's trans-exclusionary views. The belief that every action must serve as a litmus test for commitment to a movement originates from discourses in second-wave feminism, particularly political lesbianism. This notion indicates that the act of consuming is all we have left, and is therefore the only thing we have that is valuable and meaningful. It's love, it's thinking, it's sex, it's fill in the blank. Thus, the act must be a moral one. Social media aggravates this by fostering a panoptic environment where individuals act as little detectives, scrutinizing the actions of others to ensure they meet personal political criteria. However, this role can slip into that of little cops, promoting self-surveillance. Such surveillance, essential for censorship, aligns with conservative and totalitarian practices and should be resisted to prevent further entrenchment of these ideologies. While liberal and leftist communities aim to reject fascist moralities, the act of policing behaviors serves as an occupying force that enforces the promises of violence when the threats made by the dominant socioeconomic group are ignored. This dynamic hinders real allyship between communities facing oppression. Librarians recognize that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, meaning censorship in any form, whether it is book banning, cancellation of an author, or the recent 4-1 decision by the Library Board of Fremont County, Wyoming, to eliminate all references to the American Library Association and any material quoted from the ALA from all official documents in support of Donald Trump's educational decree, Executive Order 14279, requiring the Secretary of Education to hold accountable any accrediting agencies that require institutions seeking accreditation to engage in unlawful discrimination in accreditation related activity under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, contradict the principles of librarianship, which champion neutrality and unbiased access to information. Library neutrality is not value-free. Librarians value the free flow of information and are duty-bound to fight all forms of censorship, upholding the dignity and rights of every individual. This duty includes maximizing access to materials to support all patron information needs. Access must be available to all patrons, regardless of demographics and politics. ALA and IFLA guidelines require librarians to present all points of view on current and historical issues, regardless of the author's origin, background, or views, providing the most balanced collection and access to information achievable. Librarians must provide the highest level of service to all library users through appropriate and usefully organized resources. They should work against all biases and toward equity, ensuring every book its reader and every reader their book. Library neutrality strives for an unbiased stance in collection, access, and service. However, there are many ways of being neutral. One way is to play Switzerland, and another is to emulate the caravanserais of Asia, North Africa, and Southeastern Europe. Playing Switzerland refers to the country's long-standing policy of remaining uninvolved in armed conflicts between other states, to the point that it does not allow foreign militaries onto its soil. To do so, libraries would have to start by excluding all political materials. That's everything. All art is political. Further, this form of neutrality would require a vetting system called allow listing, originating in cybersecurity, that denies access unless approved on a case-by-case basis. Unlike cybersecurity, where information is clear-cut, libraries deal with subjective data and cater to diverse audiences with varied values. Thus, playing Switzerland isn't realistic for libraries. The more useful meaning of neutrality relates to caravanserais, which served as staging stations, inns, and meeting places for travelers. Over the centuries, caravanserais have been known by various names. They were often considered neutral ground during conflicts and emphasized hospitality. While specific codes of hospitality differed, they all shared a foundation in the belief that a host's duty was to ensure the safety of guests, and failure to uphold this social contract could lead to severe consequences. The connection between caravanserais, trade, and protection parallels the Greek agora and the Roman forum, a foundational influence on Justice Owen J. Roberts' opinion in Hague versus Committee for Industrial Organization, which established the public forum doctrine in U.S. law. Libraries should embody this hospitality, where librarians act as hosts, ensuring patron safety while promoting intellectual freedom and access to information. Patrons, meanwhile, have the responsibility to follow the rules set by librarians. Each library type must establish rules aligned with its governing body's policies. School libraries follow district regulations, public libraries observe broader legal requirements, and private libraries can define their own rules. Upholding the rules of hospitality can be effectively managed through a disallow list, which starts with unrestricted access to materials and only blocks them when necessary, enabling librarians to remain neutral by fighting censorship no matter who does it, and providing consistent access to diverse collections for all, except when hospitality rules are violated. The main barrier to enacting this ideal is that no library can provide access to all information. Every library is restricted by space, funding, and staffing. Fortunately, every library is also deeply immersed in its community, allowing librarians to observe and respond to community needs. General demographic data for the library's patron population can provide broad strokes for determining cultural and linguistic considerations for a collection. Door counts, program attendance, and circulation information can help librarians learn which materials patrons use the most. Materials data, provided by publishers, professional reviewers, and education experts, help librarians determine which materials would be the most suitable choices for their patrons. According to Ranganathan's law of parsimony, librarians must combine their knowledge of their community with their institutional mandates, as well as materials usage and interest data to prioritize materials. A university library will rarely include many picture books. Similarly, a children's library would not carry a copy of The Exorcist. University libraries prioritize materials that students, staff, and faculty will likely need. Only if a department has a strong research interest in picture books, or if many students require childcare services, will a university library need more than a few picture books. Similarly, The Exorcist has roughly 380 pages, with no pictures, which makes it unappealing to young children. Older children might be willing and able to read the words, but would likely be traumatized by the plot and themes. These are simple illustrations of how librarians build collections based on the needs of their patrons. Harry Potter is a more complicated example. It appeals to children, but may or may not include inappropriate content and themes. In these situations, librarians rely heavily on expert reviews. Let us imagine we were children's librarians in the late 1990s, and we came across this article in Kirkus, a book review magazine trusted by public librarians. The review immediately highlights that the book is a debut novel, has won awards, is written for a specific age group, and falls within the fantasy genre. It also provides a brief plot summary and notes what aspects of the story will be more engaging to certain readers. We would then cross-reference this information with other reviews and our data on materials use and patron demographics to determine whether we should buy any copies for our collection. Harry Potter made such cross-referencing easy by becoming a pop culture phenomenon. The concept of literary canon can complicate the use of patron data to inform collection development. Canonical works that align with patron demographics should be included in library collections even if they have low circulation. The concept of literary canon can complicate the use of materials usage data to inform collection development. Canonical works that align with patron demographics should be included in library collections even if they have low circulation. Scholars debate whether canon is determined by objective criteria, such as historical significance and cultural impact, or by subjective cultural power dynamics. Some contend that the canon serves as a cultural syllabus that regulates access to certain values and perspectives. Currently, society faces a crossroads in defining whether the Harry Potter series qualifies as canonical literature. Just as Harry himself survived the Killing Curse, the Harry Potter series has endured cultural attacks that have proven fatal to many other works. The question is, will society writ large judge the series as excellent literature with unfortunate origins, or as the horcrux of an enemy that must be destroyed? Which wins out? The fact that Harry Potter has indelibly impacted the publishing industry and society as a whole, or the attempt to erase the hate and fear that Rowling has used her influence to unleash? Ultimately, the decision on its canonical status rests with society as a whole. Until a decision is made, as long as Harry Potter meets the criteria outlined in existing collection policies, it should be preserved in library collections. There is also the question of including Harry Potter in programs and displays, which require more effort and or have a higher premium on space, respectively, than merely including the series on the shelves. These differences mean that Ranganathan's law of parsimony requires a higher interest threshold for inclusion in programs and displays. Programs are opportunities to invite first-time patrons into the library, and displays are among their first experiences in that space. The themes of displays and programs should resonate with the community, featuring the best and most recent materials related to those themes. Creating a welcoming space for first-time visitors is as important as developing engaging programs for longtime patrons. Other factors, such as materials circulation, program attendance, and community interest in the library, must also be taken into account. Although the intense popularity of the Harry Potter series has waned since the 2000s, Harry Potter should be included if there is still significant community interest. Librarians value feedback from patrons regarding materials challenges, and the ALA advocates for clear policies to address these concerns. While procedures may differ between libraries, they generally allow patrons to formally express issues with library materials. Section librarians, the head librarian, and the library or school board review these challenges. Board meetings offer a platform for community members to voice their opinions on ongoing challenges, ensuring that all perspectives are considered. By participating, patrons can help shape the library's rules of hospitality. Experts' opinions are sought when reviewing challenged materials, and if they align with the challenge, the material may be removed or relocated. Material challenges serve as an important check for librarians to ensure that decisions are based on careful analysis, as some materials may be accidentally cataloged inappropriately. The question of why we should fight censorship is crucial, and the Harry Potter series helps illuminate this issue. Secrets and information sharing are significant themes in the story. Harry and Voldemort, both orphans, spend their early lives with limited knowledge about their backgrounds. They know only their parents' names, and much of what they believe is misleading. At Hogwarts, they learn magic and uncover their histories. The main difference in their journeys lies in how they discover their stories. Voldemort's experience is isolating. He learns about his past through solitary research and keeps his story a secret. In contrast, Harry's revelations are community-oriented. He learns of his past through interpersonal connections and regularly discusses his discoveries with friends. Having secrets kept from him causes Harry the most anger throughout the series. Even the arrival of the infamous Caps Lock Harry, the traumatized 15-year-old who yells for entire paragraphs in all capital letters in Order of the Phoenix, results from having information deliberately kept from him. Conversely, the people Harry loves most, Hagrid, the Weasleys, Hermione, Lupin, and Sirius, help him reveal his story. Part of why Albus Dumbledore is such a controversial character is that he lands on both sides of this dichotomy. The headmaster is a significant source of information for Harry. However, Dumbledore also keeps a lot of Harry's story from him, which he apologized for in Order of the Phoenix. In this apology, Dumbledore acknowledges that he succumbed to the failings of age, or the idea that, while youth cannot know how age thinks and feels, old men are guilty if they forget what it was to be young. Shortly after this admission, Dumbledore says, "It is time for me to tell you what I should have told you 5 years ago." After keeping Voldemort from getting the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry asked Dumbledore why Voldemort tried to kill him. Dumbledore refused to tell him, a decision he remade every year. Dumbledore admits he withheld information from Harry and realizes this secrecy caused harm, including Sirius' death. That blame, Dumbledore says, lies with me, and me alone. Why did Dumbledore censor Harry's past? Part of the answer is that Dumbledore thought to protect Harry from the implications of that information. Dumbledore's priority, until the end of the Order of the Phoenix, was to keep Harry alive, not prepare him to fight. The other part of the answer is that Dumbledore cared more for Harry's happiness than his knowing the truth, more for his peace of mind than the plan, more for his life than the lives that might be lost. What did Dumbledore care if numbers of nameless and faceless people and creatures were slaughtered in the vague future if here and now Harry was alive and well and happy? He acted exactly as Voldemort expects we fools who love to act. That last sentence could be a quote from one of the people who use the excuse of protecting children to remove materials from a library. It could just as easily be a quote from someone who wishes to cancel Rowling over her opinions on trans rights. The excuse for censorship is almost always protection. We must protect, insert people group here, from type of information, says the censor. However, this position is at best misguided and at worst an outright lie. Dumbledore also thought he must control Harry to protect him. If Harry understood why Voldemort targeted him, it would be harder to make him return to the Dursleys' house, where his mother's love shielded him, or to Hogwarts, a place even better than Gringotts for keeping something safe. The key word there is something, not someone. Controlling people dehumanizes them, reducing them to mere objects. While a caged bird may sing, a controlled person will never truly be happy. Further, despite the claim that it is used to protect, censorship as a control mechanism undermines itself. Dumbledore believed withholding information would keep Harry from making rash decisions. However, this lack of crucial knowledge led Harry to make dangerous choices at the Department of Ministries, resulting in serious death. It is crucial, of course, to be safe and appropriate when sharing information. Knowing how much information to share and how to share it effectively is a long-standing challenge, especially when dealing with children. As Dumbledore has shown us, hiding information because we are afraid is not the solution. Librarians are trained to answer questions by providing sources. It is not their job to give answers, but to provide the means to find them. Harry may not have been ready for the complete answer to his question at the end of Sorcerer's Stone, but he needed an answer. Instead of saying, like Dumbledore, "Alas, the first thing you ask me I cannot tell you," librarians say, "I can help you find an answer." Then they use their research skills to find materials that will help answer the question. Here, again, collection development choices are essential. Librarians' trust in expert reviewers allow them to determine which materials belong in which collection. In turn, the resulting organizational structure enables librarians to quickly and responsibly assist anyone in finding the answer to their question. By filling each collection with as much accurate and appropriate information as possible, librarians fulfill both sides of their duties as hosts. An organic approach to resolving the conflicting responsibilities of librarianship is preferable to prescriptive cultural authoritarianism. Individuals should have the choice to engage with media without social coercion, and community decisions should inform library collections. The Harry Potter books do not violate free speech. According to ALA and IFLA guidelines, the series should remain accessible based on community needs and circulation data. Censorship, even with good intentions, can lead to negative consequences, as seen with Dumbledore's actions. Ultimately, Harry Potter's availability in libraries should be determined by demand, ensuring access to its lessons about truth and the dangers of suppressing information. Thank you all so much for coming.